Out here today working on the Bel-Air. Got some new tires mounted on it. Got some wide whites on the old aluminum US mags. So it's looking pretty fancy, but the radiator has started leaking. This is a eBay radiator made for these cars. Nothing wrong with the radiator. It was I forgot to get an extra bolt. Let me turn my light on. I got a bolt here, but I never put a bolt in the bottom, and this thing, through about 2 years or 3 years of driving it, has rattled enough that it put a hole in the bottom of the radiator. So I'm gonna let that thing drain for a minute. I got a new radiator, also from eBay, little bit different radiator. Here's the new radiator. It's also from eBay, but this one is a polished aluminum. It's got the fancier looking tanks instead of just being a square tank. It's got the nice tanks on it. Still has the transmission cooler in the bottom and all the stuff to mount the fans to the front and to mount the radiator into the car. So get that old one out, take a look at it, and then get this new one put in so maybe it'll quit leaking water on the ground. Alright, we're catching some of the water in the bucket. I'm going to go ahead while it's draining, and I'll go ahead and start pulling some of these hoses off and get my little PVC air intake off and get all that stuff out of the way. So then we can get the fans off and get ready to pull the radiator out. Should be a pretty easy job. Okay, we got the fans sitting out here on the fender. Obviously the air intake is off, upper hose, lower hose is off. All we got are 4 bolts, like this one here. 4 of these bolts, and that thing will pop right out, and we'll set it over there next to the new one and see the differences. Alright, here's the old radiator out of the car. Doesn't look too bad other than a little dirty, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this. There's the little hole right there. That's the biggest one I can find. There's a couple more on this side, but they're not as big and harder to see with the camera. But that'll be a good thing for me to remember to make sure you get all the bolts in, because the holes were here. I just didn't have the bolts, and I thought, oh, I'll put those in later, but I never did, and now this radiator's got a hole in it. So we'll put this one in, and I'll make sure I get all 4 bolts holding the fan shroud on. Alright, got the new radiator in. Doesn't quite fit, you know, because it's shiny and nothing else is, but it'll get dirty. So got the lower hose on, both the tranny lines connected. So now we'll get the fans mounted with 4 bolts this time instead of 2, and almost be ready to fill it back up with coolant and bleed the cooling system. Got the radiator in, got the fans in with 4 bolts this time. And this is a little bit different. The other radiator, this bracket came out in front. So to keep this fan shroud off the radiator, I put a 3/8 bolt through with a nut in the middle as a spacer, and then another nut on the end just to hold it out. Now it's got a nice little gap all the way around. Keep it from rubbing. I got a gallon of water and a gallon of antifreeze in here, so I'm gonna start it up and let it start circulating. Alright, now we wait 15 minutes before this thing can warm back up. This thing's been running for about 10 minutes. We're up to 190. I've been revving it up every once in a while to get some bubbles to pop out. pull this thing out of the shop. I got it up to about 220 and then turn the fan on and let it come back down, and it seems to be full of coolant. It's taken about 20 minutes for this thing to get up to temperature and back down, so we'll go ahead and pull this car out of the shop and get it cleaned up because made a bit of a mess. So that's a short video, but that'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe and leave a comment below.